Everyone, and welcome to a video on the calculations using moles. So this is a topic which most students find difficulty in. The key is to practice and practice the past papers and to adopt a similar strategy in every question with slight variations in each according to what the question is required. So if you practice more and more with a similar strategy, you are going to ace it. So, in my opinion, these are the formulae which are most important for these questions. So you need to have a grip on them and understand them. And whenever solving the questions, you just have to shift from one variable to the other and back to the other when you are solving these questions, as I'm going to illustrate an example in this video and in the coming videos. So uh, for example, if there is an equation, I'm going to come to these steps later on in the video. If there is an equation which is given like sodium plus water gives sodium hydroxide and hydrogen, and we are starting with, for example, there is some certain mass of sodium which is given, and you have to find the volume of gas, the hydrogen gas which is produced from it. So the strategy always begins from the given variable, which would be in this case is sodium, the mass of sodium. So from the mass of sodium, we are going to calculate the number of moles of the sodium. From that, we are going to deduce what the moles of the hydrogen gas are produced, and from that, the volume of the gas. Uh, in formulae, you will be standing over here where mass of the sodium would be given. From that, we are going to find the moles of the sodium, and then again to moles of the hydrogen gas which are produced, and then you will be back to using this formula, that is moles equal volume over 24, in order to find the volume of the hydrogen. So let's move to the example in order to make this clear, and these are the steps which we are going to use in the coming examples. So let's move on. So now the question is given over here that calculate the mass of sodium needed to produce 48 dm cube of hydrogen gas. So earlier I was giving the example that if we had the mass of sodium given and we were about to calculate the volume, in this question, it's giving us the volume instead, and it's asking to find the mass of sodium. So no problem, we will just follow the same strategy. So the step number one is that write down equation of the reaction. So this is often given in your paper. However, if it is not given, so you have to make up the equation yourself by using the knowledge of the syllabus that you have studied. So the equation of the reaction we have found because we are going to use it to know the molar ratios. Balancing the equation properly is really important, which we had learned in another chapter. So step number one, write an equation of the reaction. We have done it. Step number two is that look for the known and unknown quantities in the question. So I would suggest that you can mark this in whatever the MCQ or the theory paper it is given with a pencil. So in this question, we are given the 48 dm cube of hydrogen gas. So this is the given quantity, which is actually the volume, and the unknown in this case is the mass of the sodium, which we have to calculate. So this is the unknown which we have to find, and that is the mass. So for the sake of understanding, I put in the two formula which we have to use in this, that is the volume one and the mass one over here. I've separated them, just took them from here and put them here. So the volume one is given over here, and the mass formula is given over here. So we are going to use these two in our following steps. So in short, we are standing over here with the volume. We have to know the moles of this hydrogen gas so that we can move on to know the moles of the sodium that would form using this equation. And then when we would be knowing these moles of the sodium, we would be calculating the mass of the sodium as required in the question. In terms of over here in the formula, we are standing over here at the volume of the hydrogen gas. We have to calculate the moles of the hydrogen gas from here. Then using that equation and watching the ratio of the moles, when we balanced it, the numbers which are given in the equation, so we can use the moles of the hydrogen to calculate the moles of the sodium in order to derive the moles of the sodium. And then we are going to use this formula in order to find the mass of the sodium. So I'm going to illustrate it again on these equation and these formulae as we move through the steps. So in step 2, we had to look for the known and unknown quantities, which I have highlighted over here. Step 3 is that calculate moles from the given quantity of known substance, which is given in the question, and this is as we highlighted in step 2. So what was the given quantity? It was the volume of the hydrogen. We have to calculate moles from it. That is, we are standing over here and we have to move over here. This is the step number 3 that we have to follow. And step number 3 on this equation is right over here. Step number 3, where we are going to calculate the moles of this hydrogen gas. So now we have used this formula in our step number 3 in order to find out the moles of the hydrogen gas. So we did this, put in the formula and put in the known value, that is 48 over 24. So the moles of hydrogen came to be 2 moles. So step number 4 says that you have to write the molar ratio between the known and unknown substance using equation of the reaction, which is given in step 1. So that is, the equation is given over here. From here you have to write down the molar ratio, that is how many moles of hydrogen are actually giving sodium according to the equation. So this is step number 4, and the step number 4 is actually, which is moving on from here. This is step number 4, which is moving from the known thing to the unknown, which is going to tell us that how many moles will be formed using the equation. So showing this step number 4 over here in the formula diagram is moving from this known moles to the unknown moles. So this I've illustrated over here with the step number 4, and now writing down the molar ratio using the equation. So step number 4, we saw the molar ratio in the equation, that is 1 mole of hydrogen, here it is 1, is giving 2 moles, is being formed from 2 moles of sodium. So I've written over here that 1 mole of hydrogen gas is produced by 2 moles of sodium. So 1 mole of hydrogen gas is produced by 2 moles of sodium. This I have derived from the equation, and this is the molar ratio in a statement form. Step number 5 says that deduce the number of moles of unknown substance, which we have to calculate from the molar ratio, which you just deduced from step number 4, and the moles of known substance, which were found over here. So now using these two, that is the ratio which is given and the moles of the known substance, you will find the moles of the unknown substance. So this step number 5 is that over here where you transition from the hydrogen to the sodium, and now you have to find the moles of this sodium. And this is step number 5 over here in the diagram. You have to find the moles of the sodium. And after that, you will be finding the mass of the sodium. So now when 1 mole of hydrogen gas is giving 2 moles of sodium, so 2 moles of hydrogen gas would be giving the double of it, right? When 1 gives 2, so 2 would be giving 4. So it's as you have done in mathematics. When you increase one by twice, the other one would also become twice. And similar how ratios work. So here I have shown that as 1 mole of hydrogen gas was produced by 2 moles of sodium, so therefore 2 moles of hydrogen gas, which were in our question, 2 moles of hydrogen gas will be produced by 2 into 2, that is equal to 4 mole of sodium. So we have derived the moles of the sodium, which would be making up this amount of hydrogen gas, which was given in the question. So we are on to the moles of the sodium, and now we are going to move on to step number 6. That is what we wanted in the question. Calculate the required quantity of unknown substance, which is asked in the question, from the number of moles which we just calculated in step number 5, which was that 4 moles. 4 moles of sodium is how much mass? We had to find mass in the question. So this, we are right now over here, we find out the moles of the sodium. And now step number 6, where we have to find the mass of the sodium now. And over here in the formula diagram, we are at the moles, and now we have to calculate the mass of the sodium using this formula. We know this now. AR of sodium is known, you can see from the periodic table, and this is what we have to find. So now applying this formula. So earlier we used this formula in order to find the moles of the known substance, and then we transitioned using the molar ratio from the equation, and now we are standing over here and we have to find the mass of the unknown substance using this formula. So therefore, moving on to step number 6, where we had to find the required quantity. We know the moles of the sodium now. We just copied the formula which I had shown you before. Over here, this is the formula. These two quantities are known. We have to find the mass. So therefore, shift AR to the other side. Mass becomes moles of sodium multiplied by AR. This is simple mathematics. And then you know that 4 moles of sodium were producing that hydrogen, and AR from periodic table is 23. So multiply with them gives you 92 grams. So that is the mass of sodium. So to summarize, in order to gain these concepts, you will have to practice a lot and follow a similar strategy in every question with slight alternatives depending on the question. So as I'm going to illustrate in the examples coming in ahead videos. So this is what you need to know. Important is to know these formulae, which would be the one which are applied throughout the syllabus, and you need to know that from where to where you are moving. Now you can like think of these formulae to understand where you're moving, or you can see the question and understand that you have to move from where to where. So practice and with a similar strategy and apply it ahead, and watch the future examples too, which I'm going to illustrate. So thank you for this.